we need to think about what our audience is actually using that specific platform for. And so taking a step back and going, right, who is my ideal audience? What social media platforms are they using? And why would they be on that platform? Are they on TikTok because they want to find some how-to videos? Are they on Instagram because they want to get some inspiration or see portfolios of businesses?
I'm Becca Poutney, wedding business marketing expert, speaker and blogger, and you're listening to the Wedding Pros Who Are Ready to Grow podcast. I'm here to share with you actionable tips, strategies and real-life examples to help you take your wedding business to the next level. If you are an ambitious wedding business owner that wants to take your passion and use it to build a profitable, sustainable business doing what you love, then you're in the right place. Let's get going with today's episode.
Today, I'm chatting with Nikita Thorne, the head of strategy at Guides for Brides. I've spoken at many events alongside her since 2020, and this definitely isn't her first appearance on my podcast either. She first appeared in episode 13 back in June 2022. This March, Nikita's going to be speaking on the breakout stage at Wed Pros Live, and I know her session is going to be great. Nikita, welcome back to the podcast.
Hello, how many times is it now? Do I still hold the record?
I believe you do hold the record for the most appearances. This is definitely at least number 4.
It's so many we've lost track, basically
Exactly.
what we're saying.
Yeah, basically. But I even couldn't believe it myself when I looked back to see your first appearance, episode 13, and we're now well into the 200s. So that is impressive that you made it in the first 20 episodes.
I mean, we call it an OG, possibly, OG guest, founder, a founding speaker, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely. You've been around the block. But if people want to go back and listen to that original episode, you can. And I think both of us probably sound a couple of years younger as well in 2022. Anyway, let's get back to where we are, which is here in 2026. And you are well placed in the industry. So I wanted to have a bit of a chat with you today about stuff that you're seeing going on in the industry, stuff you're seeing with your own clients. And then, of course, as I mentioned in the introduction, we're going to talk all things Wed Pros Live, which is coming up incredibly soon, which is very, very exciting. So let's start big picture industry shifts. We're now in 2026. I keep saying the industry shifted a huge amount in the last few years. What are you seeing from your perspective?
I think the big thing in the room is AI search. Like, that is just the massive trend that we're seeing now. I think, if we had this conversation this time last year, yes, it would have been discussed, but it wouldn't have been such a massive topic. And I think the speed in which AI search, just general AI in business, has moved and developed is such a big talking point at the moment. And it's one of those things where if you don't move with the times, you're going to get left behind, and you're going to get left behind fast. I think one of the things that we're seeing from a client perspective is that because the LLMs, so the large language models, ChatGPT, Gemini, those kinds of platforms, they are being used more and more now by couples for those initial planning conversations. I mean, I used ChatGPT just this morning to analyze what dream I had last night. Like, it's one of those things that's just built into your life day to day now. And I think that, Anshika has been on the podcast. Anshika and I have had many, many conversations about how much we use ChatGPT. It's literally like a therapist in my pocket. I just feel like it's becoming a normal part of day to day. And if we need to consider, when it comes to our marketing, when it comes to how we promote ourselves to our audience, that we are considering how they're going to be using these platforms. And someone who is my age, I'm in my late 20s, like grasping at straws, trying to stay in the 20s at this stage. But it's something that I use all the time. And a lot of the couples that you're selling to are my age. So it's one of those things that you've got to consider where your business is, how it's going to come up in those search engines. And then equally, thinking about how the method of search has changed. The method of research for couples has changed. I mean, your session all about the marketing theme park, is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is incredible to see that shift, because at the beginning of last year, when I was speaking about marketing and the marketing theme park and what we're going to see, and I was mentioning AI, it was definitely people were like, oh, really? Do I need to pay attention with it? And now 12 months later, it's like, no, I absolutely do need to pay attention to it. It is here to stay. And I'm the same. I use Claude myself for AI because I like it. I think it's prettier, but I'm using it more and more and more and almost on a daily basis now for all sorts of things. And I think we're understanding it better. So it's not like the early days where we were just asking it crazy things like, can you write me a poem about cheese? Like, we're actually using it for things that are helpful in our businesses. So for example, one of the things I've been using Claude a lot for is coding on websites. I don't understand coding on websites, but you can say, I don't know why on my website, this bit of font is in this color. How do I change the code? And it literally gives you the code to copy and paste in, and it sorts it out for you. And so I think our understanding of how to use it is increasing. And I'm definitely also be interesting to hear your take on this, but I'm hearing a lot of narrative around people questioning all of the time whether something was created by AI or not. So, I got this email. I think they wrote it on AI. Oh, I think they made that picture on AI.
Yeah, see, I actually watched a documentary on Netflix the other day, and they had used AI to anonymize the person who was speaking. And it was really strange because unless I saw that sort of disclaimer in the top corner, I don't think I would have noticed him immediately. Once I knew about it, I was like, oh, clear AI things, perfect skin, perfect eyes. You can tell immediately. Thankfully, they didn't have like 7 fingers, but it was one of those things where you can see it when you know it's there. And I think you're right in terms of questioning whether something has been written with AI or not. But we've now, as you say, got smarter at using it. And so, at Guides for Brides, we use AI all the time to help us with our work. It streamlines everything. It helps us write things like processes. It helps us make sure that we are working to the best of our ability, making the most of the time that we have. And so I find as well, like most of the time, I'm using AI to help me draft an email or help me improve an email or something like that. But my AI is so well trained to speak like me now. There's very few times I've had to actually make edits to what's being said to make it sound less like AI. It's really strange. It's becoming like a day-to-day tool that I use all the time. It's often the way I like to say it, especially when it comes to copywriting or things like that, is using it as a tool to help you improve or help it to sound better or be smoother in like a sentence, for example, rather than sort of asking it to do the writing for you. That's where it becomes tricky, and it doesn't perform as well. And also, one of the things I will say, like from a tip perspective, is once you've got your prompt right, the rest of it works. And it's the prompt that should take the longest part of the work for you when it comes to using AI in your business.
Yeah, so true. Okay, I've got one other question about AI while we're on that subject, which actually directly relates to you as a directory, because I've been having lots of conversations with various AI experts. And one of the things they say that AI really likes is pricing on your website. I love to preach about price transparency, but quite often what AI is doing, as we know, is pulling the information from directories. And the old kind of model on directories at one point was, have a fairly low price on your page to try and attract people in. And then you can talk to them about the pros and cons of that later. But actually, if we're putting a low price on our directory listing, that's what ChatGPT is pulling through and saying is our price. So I don't know if you've had this conversation with clients yet, if you're thinking about that in your business, but what I'm starting to say is you've got to be more realistic with your pricing on the directories, because otherwise it's looking weird when it's entering the ChatGPT universe.
Absolutely. And I think, you've hit the nail on the head there. I think one of the things that is important to know about AI search when it comes to wedding directories, and it's a little sneaky insight into my session at Wed Pros Live, is the fact that they are considered to be a fact source. They do acknowledge, and I have asked ChatGPT of, is this a marketing, is a website directory a marketing tool or resource? And while it acknowledges that it is, it's more likely to see it as a factual entity. And so your website is more likely to be seen as as marketing text. Directories are still kind of marketing text, but LLMs tend to prefer it to be used as a source for fact checking. So if you are going to, number one, if you use directories, and you should be using directories, you should be on multiple relevant ones for you. is making sure that all of your information is the same across all platforms. That is the crucial part, because the worst thing that can happen is ChatGPT telling a couple, oh, I reckon this venue might be worth looking at, but pricing on Guides for Brides says it's this, but this directory says it's that. And so that could be conceived as a downside, because as we know, LLMs like ChatGPT tend to prefer to be neutral and tend to try and give you both sides of the story. So if you are inconsistent in things like pricing or key facts, that's where things are going to fall down. That's going to look like a negative. So that's where it will pull that up in the results.
Makes perfect sense. So consistency really is the name of the game. We're not trying to do short-term sales tactics to hook people in anymore on a directory. Yeah. We're trying to be considerate and transparent so everything matches. So it's really easy for the AI models to pull your information through.
Absolutely. And one of the things I will say as well is the best way to make directories listings work best for you in terms of AI search is to make sure that you are writing it in the third person. So instead of saying me, my business, we do this, we do that, write it as if you are someone else talking about your business, because that's what's going to help separate it from being a marketing tool, in air quotations, to a fact source.
Fantastic. So basically we would be writing Becca Pountney is XYZ. Becca Pountney is a florist in Bedfordshire who goes out for X amount of money. Yeah. Rather than I am a florist in Bedfordshire. Makes perfect sense. Okay. There's one simple takeaway straight away that people can take. Go to your directory listings, check your pricing, and go and update the wording so that you're not saying I and me all of the time. Right, Nikita, from your standpoint, I also want to talk about mistakes you're seeing people making, because I know, like me, as a fellow marketer, you see the mistakes just as clearly as you see the good things. And we're not going to call anyone out on their mistakes, but I'd love to know if you're seeing things and you think, why are they still doing that in 2026?
I have one bugbear that I always have this one bugbear where I think people are forgetting how the marketing landscape has changed. And we are still seeing it as this very smooth funnel of I saw a listing, I'm going to look at the pictures on the listing, I'm going to send an inquiry on the listing, and then I'm going to book that venue or book that supplier. That's not how this works anymore. Everything works together. That's why directory listings are a launch pad, they are a starting point, they're a fact-checking point, and they're a verification point for couples. So the way we use directories is changing so much. You aren't always going to see the benefit of wholly inquiries from a directory listing. Inquiries can come from literally anywhere because people are looking at you absolutely everywhere. And I've got some stats here that I learned at Wedding MBA from NG, which was that the amount of time people need to see something before they take action, specifically for the events industry, is 14.81 times. So that's huge. And that's from their small business report. So it's data that they've generated. And we can see that, it's no longer just 7 touch points. It's double that specifically for the event industry. So that means that they could be looking on Google and they're searching for wedding florists near me, whatever they're doing, wherever they're starting. Then they might go on a directory and find you on there. Then they might go on to Instagram and have a look at your Instagram. Then they might go on to TikTok and look at your TikTok. Then they might go to your website and look at your website. Then they might go back to Google and look at your reviews. It goes on and on and on and on. And you just don't know at what point they're going to be confident enough to send you an inquiry. It could be when they're on your Instagram. It could be when they're on a directory. It could be when they're on your website. You just don't have any idea anymore, but everything needs to work together. And if you're seeing all of your marketing facets as being completely individual and measuring the results from them completely individually, you're missing the point now. And I think that's one of the biggest things I will say, because I preach it from the rooftops all the time.
It's so true. You know what, Nikita? It's a theme park out there. It's a marketing theme park. It's absolute chaos.
Look at that.
No, it's very true. And you're right. And I think, interestingly, from my perspective, I think directories do get that most of all. I feel like people really expect it to go from A to B very, very quickly with a directory, more so than anything else. So if they update their SEO, they say, oh, I know that will take a bit of time and it's just working on the overall thing. But if they pay for a directory, they do expect to lead immediately. And
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. I think that's maybe how it was in the olden days, as it were. But actually, you're right. It's a larger part of the landscape. It's a different piece of the puzzle, and it's not necessarily going to work from A to B. And there's also so many other things that go along with it. It's not just the listing. So we'll talk more about that in a minute. The other thing we haven't talked about in 2026, which I know is something you are also passionate about, is the way social media has shifted massively. Are you seeing any mistakes or things that people should be doing better on their socials?
I mean, I talk about social search all the time. I feel like I end up becoming a bit of I won't say SEO expert because there's so much to SEO and I'm never going to stand up there and pretend to be like the biggest expert on SEO. But I think SEO is everywhere now. And that's what the change is. And so when it comes to social media, making sure that you are optimizing your posts, your profiles for search is so important. And we're still making small mistakes, again, that could have a big impact. So, making sure that the word wedding is in your bio, for example, that's a massive thing that people forget, but it's a big thing that it can have a big impact when you change it. So making sure that your posts and your profiles are optimized for search is super, super important now. Because as we were just saying, where couples are looking at you at all of these different touch points, and they might go from a directory listing to your Instagram, and actually search for you on Instagram, search for your business name, search for your name, whatever it is that they've found, they might search for you. And so making sure that you are easy to find, whether they're searching for your brand name or your name or, possibly even a service you provide, is crucial on social media. And equally as well, I think the other thing that I like to preach about is making sure you know what your audience is doing on the platform. So not considering social media as I'm going to make one piece of content and I'm going to post it on every single platform and it's going to work for me perfectly. No, we need to think about what our audience is actually using that specific platform for. And so taking a step back and going, right, who is my ideal audience? What social media platforms are they using? And why would they be on that platform? Are they on TikTok because they want to find some how-to videos? Are they on Instagram because they want to get some inspiration or see portfolios of businesses? Are they on Pinterest because they don't know what they want and they're searching for the different search terms around wedding flowers or wedding cakes and they don't know what they want, and so they're trying to get ideas? Trying to think about how your specific audience are going to be using those platforms and then tailoring your content to suit them is crucial.
Yes, so true. Copy and paste is not working at all. And we could have a whole hour conversation about the algorithms of all these different platforms. But my big bugbear this year, we talked about bugbears earlier. One thing I'm preaching at all of my talks at the moment is the days of one single image on an Instagram post are over. Like, please stop posting like it's 2016, because in 2026, the minimum you should have is a carousel with some music. Why? Because it then appears in the For You page and other people will see it. It's funny, Nikita. People are complaining to me about, oh, I don't like the new algorithm. I don't like that, my stuff has to be video content. And I remind them, 5 years ago, you were all coming to me and complaining, Becca, I don't like the Instagram algorithm. It only ever shows everything to my followers. How do I reach people that are not my followers? I'm like, well, now you can, but you don't like it still. So I think that says we're creatures of habit and we like just whatever we like at the time.
Look, no one likes change. I think and there's been a lot of change in the last 5 years, especially shall we say the pandemic being one of those things, changing how people shop, AI, the way social media works, all of it's changing and it's changing really fast. And I really don't blame businesses for feeling a bit overwhelmed by that. I feel overwhelmed by that. It's massive. I feel overwhelmed most days thinking about how fast things are changing. And we have to just remember that as long as we are taking a step back, seeing things for what they are and thinking strategically about how we're going to use the tools in front of us, because that's what they are, they're tools. We don't have to be the best at it. We can just try to our best ability to use them as best we can And then when we get things wrong, what can we learn about it? I always say marketing is kind of like a science experiment. Sometimes you don't know what the result's going to be. If you're wanting to try it, go for it. As long as it's not going to be harmful to your business, I don't see any harm in trying something. You might only get 2 likes on that post. Who cares? We're going to learn from that. We're going to try and work out what went wrong there, and we're going to improve on it next time. You have to have the confidence to start doing something and trying things in order to get better at them.
Yeah, it's so true. And overwhelm is definitely the key. I know a lot of people are feeling that at the moment. It's interesting. I just put a talk together for a summit in America. It's called What the Social Media Happened. And it's about the state of social media in 2026. And as part of that presentation, I went through and looked at all of the changes that Instagram made in 2025. And there was something like 9 different features, changes. And I'm like, no wonder people are feeling overwhelmed, because just the one platform they felt comfortable with has made all of these different changes. They added in trial reels, they changed the algorithm, all of these different things. And I'm the marketer, right? That's what I should be thinking about all of the time. But actually, for the florist, the cake maker, the photographer, who that's just this tiny part of their business, it is overwhelming. And I love what you said about just take a step back and realize they're tools, because they are. And you don't have to do anything. It's your business. If you're listening to this, you don't have to do anything, but they are there to be used, and they can be great tools if you understand how to use them and use them properly. Right, let's get back to go for it.
Sorry, we don't have to be experts in this. We don't have to be. And I'm not going to stand up and claim that I'm an expert in every single facet of marketing. I would say I'm very good at wedding marketing, and I'm probably considered an expert in that area. But I wouldn't say I'm an expert in how to market an engineering firm. Do you know what I mean? So if I were to move into that field, I'd still have to learn and go back to phase 1. And even though the tools stay the same, you have something else to learn. So if you're going to pick up a new tool, of course you're going to have to learn it. And it's just about having to have the confidence to try it. Because ultimately, if you think it's going to benefit your business, try it. It might not work. Who cares? You tried it. It didn't work. You learn from it. You move on.
So true. Okay, let's get back to directories for a minute, because again, you're well placed. You know who your clients are. You probably see the clients that come in expecting miracles and then leave again. But you also, on the other side of things, see the clients who really understand what it's about and are benefiting in their business from being part of your directory. So what do you think when you look at the successful clients that are on your database? What is it that's working for them? What is it that makes them stay and find success?
Okay, so I think there's multiple facets to this. So Guides for Brides has always moved with the times. We are very quick in terms of trying to move with change. We've done this with AI search. We've already been sort of this week even contacting businesses and saying, we're starting to see this trend. Can you please make sure you've updated this, done that? And those that do it tend to get the result that they're looking for. But also thinking about the other areas of the business. So Guides for Brides, for example, part of having a listing on the site unlocks the community functions of Guides for Brides. We've got Guides for Brides networking events. We've got Guides for Brides webinars. We've got all sorts of educational functions. We've got resources. You've got the ability to use the team, ask them questions. They're very knowledgeable. Our team, especially our account management team, all of them have been in the company, some of them for 2 decades, some of them for nearly 15 years. And they know the industry. They know the industry really well. They've been in the industry through massive, massive events and change, like, market crashes, pandemics. They've seen it all. And they are able to help advise wherever they can. And our team is as well, the marketing side of it absolutely can help you as well. But it's also things like making sure that your listing is being seen in other places. So if you have a spotlight listing, for example, you get to put yourself, or we will put you in a blog post or a relevant blog post, which helps AI search because you're being featured and talked about in an article about wedding venues in your area, or orangery wedding venues, or, tips for like choosing your florist. things like that. So we will help our clients be featured and you make the most of their membership/listing wherever possible. So yeah, I think one of the things I would say is the ones that have been with us for a long time, we've got lots of clients who've been with us for 15 plus years, are the ones that are ready to take our advice. They're ready to make changes. They're updating their listings regularly. They're phoning in when they're not sure about something, asking for advice. And actually also, if something's not working, they're flagging it up with us. They're saying, Nikita, I don't really know what to do. I've not had any, I don't know, let's call it inquiries for the sake of inquiries. But, I've not had any inquiries for a few months. I don't really know what to do. Can you help me look at it? And I can then go and look at the stats, and I can say, right, well, you might not have had any inquiries, but you've definitely had website clicks. So let's have a look. If you want inquiries, let's look at what your copy says. Let's make sure that it's reaching the people that you are going to get you an inquiry, I would say, they don't just jump on and jump off. They allow the systems the time that they need to progress, but they also make the most of everything that's available to them. And, it starts at £14.50 a month. There's lots available for £14.50 a month. So, make sure you make the most of it.
And as always, alongside a lot of the other things we talk about on this podcast, it's the people who take action. It's the action takers. It's not the people who sit there and expect everything to come to them. It's the people who make the most of those opportunities. I mean, I've been to a number of your networking events and they're always excellent. So if you're listening to this and you're a part of Guys for Brides, look at what they've got coming up. You might as well go along to one of the events. It's part of what you've got as part of your package. Get yourself along to it. And I think you're right. It's the people who sit back and do nothing. Then they're the ones who then complain that nothing happened. But as I always say, nothing changes. You gotta do something about it.
Absolutely.
Right. Let's move on and talk all things Wed Pros Live, because that is coming up incredibly soon. I'm very excited about it. And I remember way back, maybe 4 years ago, having a conversation with you where I said, I think one day I want to do my own conference. I don't know how it's going to work. I'm a bit scared about it. And then nothing happened for 4 years. And then suddenly I was like, okay, I'm going to do it now. And as you know, Guys for Brides have the UK Wedding Conference. So you also understand it is not an easy task to go, I'm just going to put on a conference. So did you think I was mad when I decided to do it?
Well, yes. I will admit, I was like, wow, Becca's going to go for this. Fair play. No, I think it's definitely filling a gap. The UK Wedding Conference, we put on every single year. We brought it back after COVID. It is a massive task to pull something like this together. So kudos to you for doing it. And I think, Wed Pros Live is a very different kind of conference. So I'm looking forward to seeing how you're going to pull it together. I mean, both of us have been to Wedding MBA. We've both spoken at Wedding MBA. So I'm just excited to see what inspiration you've taken from that, because we love running the UK Wedding Conference. We're very proud of the UK Wedding Conference. We always bring the best education to it, and I'm excited to see how you're going to bring in the same for the spring. So it's very exciting.
I think you're going to love it, Nikita. Do you know why? Because you, like me, love musical theatre, and there are so many theatre themes. So, for example, here's an exclusive. There is a program which is designed to look like a West End program for every attendee.
Love that. Amazing.
And there's definitely going to be some other musical theatre references. And in fact, the main stage is actually being called the theatre.
Lovely. I like what you did there.
So yes, there's going to be I think it's going to be a vibe. That's what I keep saying. I don't think anyone's going to really understand what that vibe's going to be until the day, but it's going to be a definite Becca vibe. Some people, it probably isn't for them, but for the people that it is, are going to have a blast. And Wedding MBA has been a huge inspiration. I've chatted to Shannon and the team there, and I've told them that it's not a secret. I love what they do out there because, you're one of the few people in the UK who has also been out there and experienced that. And I think it's really hard to put into words why that conference is so great. So I don't know, from your perspective, what bits of Wedding MBA, what bits of Vegas did you enjoy and love?
From an attendee perspective or a speaker perspective?
Both.
I think there's two different parts. So from an attendee perspective, I think I really enjoy the fact that there's so much variety of content. You could be an expert in sales, you could be a solo business owner, you could be a marketing person, you could be in, the web development side of weddings. You can be in all of these avenues and there will still be content that is relevant to you. Obviously, it's quite far away for people like us, but I always think the level and caliber of speakers there is excellent, and we have made so many new connections across the pond now, and it's nice to be in touch with those people because I believe in so much power of networking. Alison, our director, is very much a advocate for networking and helping each other. And I really see the benefit in having that connection. If you know someone, they often also know someone who might be able to help you with something. And I think that's how you form really great relationships in an industry as small as ours. Because let's face it, our industry is small and it's tight knit, and it's often that's how you make your way through it, I think, and how you can make the best of it. Guys Surprise networking events as well. That's why we introduce them, help each other out.
Yeah, and the quality
sorry,
of the speakers. I was just going to say the quality of the speakers, I think, at Wedding MBA really stands out. And now you've been on the other side of it, you understand that it's not easy to speak at that conference.
Oh, no.
Like it is not an easy place to be. It's not something that anyone can just pop up and speak at.
No.
And even when you start, there's all sorts of things that go on behind the scenes. But the great thing about that is that's what keeps the caliber of the education so high. And also, I think it's no surprise that you see the same top speakers going back to MBA year after year after year, but always with a different topic, always with a fresh perspective, and always bringing the top level. And if they don't, they're not getting invited back. And I think it's been interesting for me to see that and to see the caliber of the speakers out there and to bring some of them here, because it's been a bugbear. Again, I've spoken to you about it for years around industry conferences, not yours and not mine, but sometimes when you go to them and actually the people speaking are not speakers. They're people that may have done good things in business, but they're terrible speakers, and it just doesn't translate well. And there is an art to being a speaker. It is a job. It is not just anyone can do it. And actually, for me, that was the priority of choosing my speakers as people who are good speakers.
That's good, because I'm here. I think, I think a lot of people don't realize this. Like when I applied to speak at Wedding MBA, obviously, Shannon and the team didn't really know who I was because, why would they? And so I had to actually audition to speak at Wedding MBA. There was a full audition process. I was sick as a dog on that day, and I still did it, and I brought my A game, and there I was on stage in November, and it was an incredible experience. It was beyond anything I've experienced in the past. And I think it's also to do with the fact that it's the American culture when it comes to conferences, and the way they sort of the way that they trying to find the right words here. The American culture and the way that they take education in their business so seriously. You can tell from that conference. Every attendee is so engaged. Everyone is really taking the full advantage of the conference, whether that's through networking, through attending the exhibitions, through watching the speakers. You can really tell that those people care a lot about their business and they want it to succeed. And I can see it as well, even in the UK, with the people that come to the Guys Surprise conference, and I'm sure who are coming to your conference. They take their business seriously, and they're the ones that succeed because they are staying ahead of the game, but they're also learning from other people. And that is crucial to actually keeping yourself at the forefront of things.
Yeah. I'd also love to know your perspective on this, because one of the things a few people have said to me is, why do I want to come and listen to all these American speakers? Because I am bringing over 4 American speakers. They're 4 of the best speakers from Wedding MBA. I know them. They're good friends of mine. And 4 of them are coming here. And a few people said to me, well, I'm a florist in Newcastle. Why do I care about the American market? Now, you have been in the same place I've been, which is you've been out to Wedding MBA and heard from loads of American speakers and walked away with a whole load of knowledge. So just from your perspective, do you think we can learn from people who live and work in America?
Yeah. 100%. We had a few speakers from the US come to the UK Wedding Conference last year, and their sessions were some of the most well received. We've got American speakers who speak on our webinars. One thing I will say is, yes, the market is slightly different from America to the UK, but the concepts that you're learning are the same. They work in both areas. Yes, there's little tiny bits. And yes, there might be some cultural clashes because, the audience in America might be slightly different to the audience in the UK and how it's received. But the things that they're talking about on the grand scheme of things really do match both markets. And I would say, you've got Megan, Renee, both of those people. I've been in sessions online. I've seen their talks on stage in the States. Renee came to our conference this year. Excellent content. And I wholly believe in making sure that you are soaking up content from these people, because you've had so many American speakers on this podcast, and I feel like I learn a lot from them. Doesn't really matter whether they're American or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, they bring a fresh perspective. And actually, sometimes it's good that their market's slightly different, because it brings a fresh idea or brings something in from a different perspective that you can implement in your business. So,
but I also will say, I will say that the American market does, where it comes to things like trends, they do tend to be like a year or two ahead of the UK. So if we're talking about trends that we're seeing in the US, whether it's, decor trends or whether it's marketing trends or things like that, they do tend to be, we can even call it like 6 months. They do tend to be like a little bit ahead. So if you're thinking about something in your business and you're listening to an American speaker and learning about the trends that are being seen in weddings in the States, the likelihood is that's going to filter down to the UK in the next year. So, can it help you to plan what you're going to do in your marketing, for example, plan what you're going to do in your styled shoots, plan what you're going to write about, your content? All of it matters.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Now, there are some amazing American speakers coming, but there are some amazing UK speakers as well, Nikita, and you are one of them. And you're going to be doing one of the breakout sessions, which I'm so excited about, called Are Wedding Directories Dead? And I remember I said to you, I want to call your session something like Are Wedding Directories Dead? Are you happy with that? And you're like, yeah, absolutely. Because I just wanted to hit the nail on the head, I guess, and go, this is what people sometimes say. I don't think it's true. Let's address it. So if people come to your session, just give us a flavor. Don't give us too much, but give us a flavor of the kind of things they're going to get from that session.
So you're going to hear about how couples are using wedding directories now, the different roles that it plays, and how directories differ. So we're going to be talking about AI search. We're going to be talking about optimizing your listings across all directories to be found in AI search. We're going to be talking about the different points in their research journey that couples come to a directory and understand the different parts of your business from that listing, whether it's discovery or verification or at point of conversion, and how you can make the most of those listings wherever you are advertising. It doesn't have to be on Guides for Brides. A lot of what I will be talking about will be relevant across the board. So I think you'll walk away knowing why directories aren't dead, because they absolutely aren't dead, and how to build trust, transparency, and become more discoverable, making them like serious lead drivers for the next year and future.
So really, if you're someone that's already listing on any of the directories, or you're someone who's considering it, then you're someone that it would be worthwhile being in the room for. Because if you're already paying for a directory listing, then you might as well go and understand how you can make it better and more successful for yourself.
Absolutely. And this is the thing. It's not rocket science. And I think breaking it down nicely to understand it better, you're going to make so much. It's going to make so much more of a difference to you in your investment in one of these platforms.
Now, the other part of Wed Pros Live, which Guys for Brides are involved in, is my backstage business crew going along with the theatre theme. So, at, all conferences, we have this exhibition area, and I have this vision for that area that, yes, it is an exhibition area, but I want it to be a help desk zone. I want it to be a place where people can go and get their questions answered, because we're not often in the room with the right people to answer the questions. So we've got the amazing John, who I adore, is going to be working in that area on behalf of Guys for Brides. So what are the sort of things that people could just go and chat and get some advice from John on?
So I think the obvious point is you can come to us and you can show us your Guides for Brides listing, and we will help you to improve that there and then. John will also be walking through sort of the basics of how to improve general directory listings, but also, if you are an advertiser, you can come and see us and be like, right, I've heard I've got an opportunity to be in a blog. Which one do you think I'd be relevant for? How do I submit that? And John can process all of that for you there and then. Additionally, he can also help you to work out other ways that you can use directories. So, are you in the wedding fair diary, for example? If you're a venue, do you run wedding fairs? Have you listed them in the wedding fair diary? We're number 1 on Google for that key term. So why are you not on there? It's all of those facets around directories. He can help with directories generally, but also specifically Guides for Brides, and really help you to nail your Guides for Brides listing. He'll be able to help you with that.
And that's going to be so helpful. And I really want people to understand that when they're coming to the conference, is understand that that room isn't a bunch of people selling to you. Yes, there may be a solution that they can sell to you, and that's up to you. But I want you to make the most of the opportunity and not be afraid to go and ask those questions, because that is golden. To be able to go to John or Nikita and say, look at my listing. Are there ways I can get involved? What have you got coming up? Are there wedding shows coming up I can get involved with? And having that face-to-face chance to ask questions without fearing being sold to is invaluable. So please turn up on that day with that open heart, that open mind, to go, I'm going to make the most of the education, but I'm also going to make the most of that area, because just as I've been very particular about who I allow to speak on my stage, I've also been very particular about who I allow to be in that room. Because for me, if they're in that room, it's because I know, like, and trust them. I know that their ethos is correct, and I know they're going to be there and willing to open up and answer your questions without expecting anything back from you in return. So do make the most of that opportunity as well. Okay, as we round up, Nikita, one final question. Why do you think prioritizing industry events, whether it's Wed Pros Live, whether it's the UK Wedding Conference, Wedding MBA, or even your networking, why do you think that should be part of someone's marketing plan for the year?
So when it comes to networking and education, if you are taking advantage of those opportunities, you might already know the information, and that's fine. But oftentimes there'll be little tiny nuggets of things that you can change or do that can have a massive, massive difference to your business. And attending these events, speaking to other people, learning from other people, asking each other advice is one of the ways that you can do that really effectively. In addition to that, I would say one of the reasons we introduce networking for Guides for Brides members is because we know how valuable it is to have that network of people that you can lean on. So making industry friends, whether it's you're a celebrant and you're meeting other celebrants, what happens if you're ill one day on a wedding and you really can't go and help this couple? They can be part of your fallback plan. You can help each other see trends that are coming through. You can also refer each other to different businesses. You don't know whether one of your industry friends is speaking to a venue and they're looking for someone like you to be on their recommended supplier list. You never know when this is going to happen. So building up your network and giving yourself those opportunities is so, so important. So that's why I think they should be on your list for this year and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can rant together. That's why I love.
Yeah.
We were talking just before this call, me and Nikita, about how we need to go out for dinner. Because when you're in an industry where people do the same thing as you also have the same struggles and the same frustrations. And sometimes it's nice to just talk to someone who understands that in a way maybe your family or your friends don't.
Well, also, one of the things I do want to say is that, yes, we have competing directories in this country, but we all speak to each other. We all speak to each other. We all share the trends that are going on. I speak to directories in other countries as well. I learn from people what they're seeing in the UAE. I know what people are seeing in Florida. I know what people are seeing, across Asia. So there are so many people who are speaking for each other, who have that information, and why not sort of help each other out here and there? Obviously, you want to keep it like you want to help your own business. We all know that. We're not going to be sharing loads of data to help each other out to that extent. But we're all friends. We all know each other and we all communicate. We all, I can message someone at another directory and say, I'm seeing this. Are you also seeing that? And that's always helpful.
Yeah, and knowledge is always power as well. It's interesting. I spoke to a client this week and she was saying that this year, so 2026, she's made it a goal to attend a network or conference every month throughout the year and a variety of places. So I think January, actually, she was at the Guys for Brides networking. February, she was at the UK Wedding Association. March, she's coming to Wed Pros Live, and then on through the year. And she's just told herself she's going to get into as many different rooms in different places with different associations, different organizations as she can, but just limit to one a month. So if that inspires anyone else out there, because there's all these opportunities, there probably is something once a month at least that you can find in your local area if you look across the industry as a whole. Ideal plan, come to Wed Pros Live in March, go to the UK Wedding Conference, whenever it's going to be, maybe October,
November.
And then go to Las Vegas in November for Wedding MBA and end the year at a Christmas party with me, and then you'll be living, loving life. Nikita, it's been so fun talking with you. I cannot wait to see you very soon at Wed Pros Live. I always end my podcast with the same question. And I actually looked back at what you said way back in 2022 as the answer to the question, just to compare whether or not you say the same thing. So the question is, what's one thing you wish you'd known sooner in your own business or in business?
One thing I think I wish I knew sooner in business is that it's okay to get it wrong. I think it's okay to learn from mistakes. It's okay to try new things and it not work. That's the only way we're going to find out if it's a good thing for us to try and will work for our business. So I think that would be my tip for you this time. One thing I wish I'd learned sooner was that it's okay to try something and it not work as you would like to. As long as you're learning from it, as long as you're giving it the time it needs, as long as you are expecting the right results from it, I think that's okay.
Fantastic. And that gives people permission to fail, which quite a lot often people need to hear. Shall I tell you what you said last time? Are you interested?
Yeah, sure. What did I say?
So way back in 2022, you said the one thing you wish you'd known sooner was to be more proactive, which actually has come out throughout this whole conversation. So it clearly is still an ethos in your life and business, is that the action takers get further. And you know that, I know that, and maybe some people listening.
And it kind of links back, doesn't it? The people that try things and they take action and they learn from mistakes or they learn from things that work as well. They're the ones that get further.
Amazing. Nikita, thank you so much. If people want to find out more about you, about Guys for Brides, where are the best places for them to go?
So you can go to guysforbrides.co.uk/advertise if you'd like to be on the directory. And you can attend one of our networking events if you would like to. We do host them all over the country, but we do tend to have most of them in sort of the South region. So do check them out if you are able to attend those. And you can email me, nikita@guysforbrides.co.uk, if you've got any questions.
Amazing. I will put all of that in the show notes. And if you are coming to Wed Pros Live, then do make sure you swing by Nikita's session or to the stand and go and have a chat with her, because she's got loads and loads that she can share with you. Nikita, I will see you very soon. Thank you for being a guest on this podcast once more.
Yay. Fifth time, sixth time. Who knows? Well, we've lost count now. I'm just going to hold the title. Thanks, Becca.
Love that conversation with Nikita. She is always so much fun to have on as a guest. We've known each other for a long time, and I love seeing how both of our businesses and different experiences have changed and evolved over that time. But yeah, our ethoses stay very much aligned. I do hope to see you at Wed Pros Live this March, if there are any tickets remaining, because at the time of recording, we have less than 15 tickets left. But if there are tickets remaining, go and grab them from wedproslive.com to come to London or Ireland. And if there are no tickets left, join the waitlist for 2027. I'll see you all next time.